Good morning. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Kimberly Ham. I'm the Director of Community Development for Abington Township. What that effectively means for all of you is that I administer our Community Development Block Grant Program, which is given to us by HUD, and help organize the effort to decide what community partners and what community projects the township is able to invest in any given funding year. So we're not a huge group online today, but if you do have a question, feel free to interrupt me. Just put a hand up so I can unmute you, so I can make sure that that I didn't put an extra restriction on that too by accident. And we'll get to you, I promise you, as soon as I notice your hand is up. So let's get into it. I should also note before we get started that this meeting is being recorded. So we are planning to post it on our website later today. So if you want to be able to refer back to it later, share it with any colleagues, you're more than welcome to do so. All right, there we go. So what is the Community Development Block Program? It is a function of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. It's at this point their flagship program. It was started about 51 years ago to really combine a bunch of old programs that the federal government had into one big flexible program to increase the quality of life and create safe and vibrant communities nationwide. It is probably the more flexible of federal funding sources that we enjoy, but that does not mean that it is not without its restrictions and limitations. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Abington is really lucky to be an entitlement community for CDBG, which means we receive a direct allocation from HUD of our funds each year. And so we have, we get to hold all of that flexibility. Other communities in the county, there's only 3 of us in Montgomery County that are entitlement communities for CDBG. Those other communities have to apply either through county or state programs. And so they're a little bit less flexible in how they're able to put stuff out because they have to go through what the state or the county's plans are as well. Oh, I see a typo on here. Definitely did not just update last year's slides. But this, we're going to go over the schedule for everything. We'll talk a little bit about our how we review the application and how what that looks like for you as well. So we'll go through that substantially too, because it is a new format this year. And then we'll wrap it up. Oh, and I've got one person coming in from our waiting room. All right, so we talked a little bit already about what the CDBG program is, and I am going to refer to it by its acronym going forward, so I don't have to say all those words. But the thing that I had not yet said is that this program, this grant program, is ultimately designed to principally benefit low and moderate income people and communities. We'll get into what that means specifically in a little bit. But that is definitely something for you to keep in mind as you put together your applications. And a lot of the projects that we endeavor upon here in Abington are economic development, public improvement and infrastructure, housing projects, and human service projects and programs. So every 5 years, Abington has to put together what HUD calls its consolidated plan. That's really kind of a short-term strategic plan around how the township intends to use the HUD funding. Many of you on this call were involved in some of the focus groups that we had with community partners around developing our next consolidated plan. The needs that are on these slides here that you're seeing, those are from our current consolidated plan. Our updated consolidated plan will be put forth in August with the action plan that we're putting together right now as well, and for which I would assume that the folks who are listening in today are planning to apply the funds for. Having said that, the needs and goals are not likely to change substantially. They might change a little bit in their priority level, but our housing need, our homeless need, our special needs, our community development needs, our economic development needs, and our administrative planning and management needs, all of those needs are very likely to be included in the forthcoming consolidated plan. Why is this important? Why am I telling you guys this? Because we base our decisions off of this plan principally. So if the projects or activities that folks are submitting their applications for don't meet any of these goals, then you're not very unlikely, if at all likely, to receive funding. So it's really important that you are able to identify that you are meeting one of these needs in your application. So our schedule for this year, we officially opened the application on Monday, the 28th. We had our first public hearing, our number one needs hearing, yesterday morning. We do have a certain schedule that we have to follow per HUD regulations, as well as our township citizen participation plan. These are all legislated schedules and notification requirements that we have. But now today we are in our application training session, obviously. The big date for everybody to know is that applications close on May 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That means that your application will have to be submitted in the system before 3 p.m. For the township to even be able to consider it for funding. That's a hard deadline. There will not be any applications considered after that time. The portal will actually shut down at that time. So you will not be able to complete your application after that time and submit it. So please make sure that you're done well in advance of 3 p.m. On May 23rd. Our recommendations. We're going to be turning around and reviewing our applications very, very quickly this year. There's a whole lot of reasons behind that I'm not going to get into, but we will be turning them around really quickly. And in that first week of June or so, we're going to be putting our recommendations out to the Board of Commissioners for them to take a look at, and to management internally to make sure that we're meeting priorities the way that they would like it to be seen. We'll be putting that first draft on public display on June 9th. So if you are being considered in that first public display of draft, we will be letting you know that first week of June as well. I can't give you a firm date at this point, just because I don't know how many applications we're going to get, and I don't know how quickly we're going to be able to turn everything around exactly. But before June 9th, you should have some idea about whether or not your program or activity is being considered for funding. Somewhere in that public display period, likely the last week of June, early July, the 4th of July holiday is kind of making it interesting for us to have a public hearing, but we will be having one. I just have to set that date specifically. And then at the July 10th commissioners meeting, we will be presenting the plan for final consideration and hopefully approval by the Board of Commissioners. If they reject that plan, we will have to go back out for public display. They will have to reconsider it at their August, I think it's August 12th meeting. I'm hoping we don't have to get to that point, but we'll see. And then we do have to have the final plan into HUD before August 15th. So the subrecipient application process, we already talked about the due dates for everything. I do have to point out that funding is extremely limited. I don't think that anybody that works in a nonprofit space at this point is shocked that federal funding is going to be limited. We still have not gotten our allocation yet. I don't believe that Congress has approved the budget still for our allocations for this year. So they have not been able to do the math to figure out what all the different entitlement allocations are. We are estimating that the township's full allocation will be somewhere in the $700,000 range, which is less than last year, less than the year before that, and a whole lot less than the year before that. That is to say that we're not sure yet. I'm hoping to know what that allocation amount is going to be around May 15th. Unfortunately, it's not something I control. It's not something that the township controls. We're really at the whim of Congress at this point to find out what our allocation is going to be. And when that information is available, it will be shared. Having said that, that $700,000 is going to have a lot of different folks, a lot of different stakeholders interested in putting that together. Some things just to keep in mind, public services are capped at 20%, or excuse me, 15%. I misspoke, 15%. So at the most, the township is allowed to allocate $84,000 total to public services. That is a total amount. Yeah. We cannot go above that. If we do, we will have to repay that money to the federal government. So we will not be awarding more than $84,000 for public services. However, if you do have a brick and mortar capital project to invest in, we do not have restrictions on that. So in the past and in the present as well, things that would be considered brick and mortar, we did a facility expansion project. We've done stormwater remediation projects. We've done pedestrian safety projects. All of those things that involve actual construction, those we do not have those same limitations on. However, direct service projects, whether it be a rental assistance project, food pantry assistance, homeless supports that do not include actual facility, those are all things that could potentially fall under public service. And so we are extremely limited in that area. It is not lost on me that that is at this point where the greatest need is overall in our community. Unfortunately, again, it's not something that I'm able to control, and it's not something the township is able to control. That is federal regulation. I did put some links in here to help folks with some of the information to help get you started. If, you know, we're going to go over some definitions, but if you do have questions, this one here, this HUD exchange one, that is a link to the federal guidebook that, frankly, I refer to a lot of the times about eligible activities. So if you do have a question about how to make an activity eligible, whether or not it is, let's see if I can get the screen share to make this work for us so I can show it to you. Here we go. Come on, Schwartz. There we go. So as you can see on this page, they basically took an old book and turned it into a series of PDFs. But this basically gives you all of the guidelines around CDBG that we are beholden to here at the township, which means that all of those regulations are passed down to all of our subrecipients. So the big things to pay attention to are probably Chapter 3 around national objectives. we have, and we'll go over this on the next slide, but we do have a set of national objectives per Congress that we have to meet through our projects and activities. So that is a really important thing as you're considering how to frame your project. If you have, specific other stuff that you're, hoping to look at, you can take a look at these other chapters that talk about the different kinds of projects. Don't bother looking at IDIS. I really wouldn't go below I wouldn't go below chapter 9. I think that the real sauce for the folks in this training are chapters 3 through 8, or sorry, 3 through 9. And then we can talk about the other stuff afterward as it might pertain to an active subrecipient. All right, let me get back to the slides. There we go. Okay. And then this other one that I've got down here is just the landing page for our program. And so all of the stuff that we're going over today is on this page. So if you ever get lost, just go back to abingtonpa.gov/ the shortcut is /CD. And then you'll see a drop down that says Community Block Grant Program. And all of this information is in there. And if it's not right now, it will be hopefully by the end of the week as we update stuff. All right. So the burning question, what exactly is a subrecipient? Nobody knows. But now I'll tell you. The official definition from HUD is here. It really just means the organization that is receiving grant funding through the grant funding that the township has. So we're technically the HUD grantee. Any organization that receives money through us in this program is a subrecipient because you are subordinate to us as the grantee. This gives you, so approved entities, including public and private for-profit organizations providing assistance to micro enterprises are considered subrecipients. That's for financial institutions that have a special designation to provide financial support, primarily through loans to folks that meet our criteria. The one thing that's really important, and those of you who have been with us before, all subrecipients must execute a grant agreement, which the township will write and provide to you before you can start your approved activity. And I should point out, I did not put it on the schedule, but our program year officially begins October 1. So no work can begin before October 1 if you wish for it to be reimbursed. If it is a public service, you just can't bill us for work before October 1. Obviously, I think for a lot of you, you have long-standing activities or programs that you're hoping to have some extra funding for this year. The billing would start October 1 for that. If it is a construction project, we'll talk a little bit more about it. There's different ways to stage it so that we can, not hold you up in any way. But we can talk about that more. But certainly the part that we are paying for, whether that be construction, design, or even the whole thing, that work cannot start before October 1 if you want us to pay you back for it. So what types of activities can we actually fund? Things that I'm not going to read all of this. You guys can read, you're smart people. I know you are. But we talked about the national objectives. Those are really important as your starting thing. And these are in your application. You must identify which national objective your organization is meeting before you can even move on with your application, which I'll show you in a little bit. Like I said, we will talk about what the definitions are a lot about low and moderate income. I think that might even be on the next slide. But everything must principally benefit folks who are low and moderate income. aid in the prevention or elimination of slums or blight. We're very fortunate in Abington that we do not have any HUD-defined slums. So that is not something that we're very likely to fund. And blight is also not a huge issue, but if there is, a specific project, that's something that we can talk about as well. And then the last one is meeting a particular urgent need. If you are seeing an urgent need, reach out to me, please. There is a very specific HUD definition around that we'll have to talk about. In my almost 5 years here, I have not seen an urgent need that's been presented to us. So, but please reach out. I'm always happy to talk about all of this stuff. All right. All right, so here we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of low and moderate income. So every year, HUD posts what they call their income limits. They define low and moderate income as this line here. So anyone, this is a household size. So it can be any individual person or a household of this size that makes this amount or less. They do it for a metro area. So this is the Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington. That's our metro area that HUD defines for us to follow the income limits on. But if you are unsure about whether or not you are going to meet that criteria, refer back to this. If you're still not 100% sure, let me know. And the big distinctions too are in this instance would be a household or a person. One thing to point out with a household, if you are going to be qualifying households, is that is including all persons who live in that dwelling. So even if they are unrelated people or they are adult people, a lot of times we'll have like adult children and the parents will be like, oh, well, they're just in their room. They don't actually contribute to the household. It doesn't matter. They're still a member of the household as far as HUD definitions are concerned. So we would still have to do whatever calculations we have to do to include them in that calculation. Obviously, a person is just one person. Cool. Am I going too fast, too slow? Am I just boring everybody to tears? We're good? All right, I got 2 thumbs up. Thanks, guys. All right. So this is the tricky one. And if you have questions about it, let me know. This was updated. This also gets updated with census information every year. This is a map of the low and moderate income areas that CDBG is able to operate in from an area-wide perspective. So you'll see the red areas on here. And these may be different than, actually a lot of them are very different from what we've talked about last year because of the census update. They updated our maps this year. They also updated what they call our quartile percentage. Because we are a more affluent community than many, we do not have to have a majority of an area be considered low and moderate income. We operate on what they call an upper quartile percentage. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that because that's just not interesting to anybody but me. But now we're at a 32.8% low and moderate income population of households within a block group area to be considered eligible for CDBG funding in Abington. Previously, it was, I think, 40.3%. So we are becoming more affluent in Abington. And because of that percentage of low mod households in a neighborhood has gotten lower. That threshold has gotten lower for us. This map in a larger, more easy to read, trying to figure out what streets are where kind of format is available It's at this Google Maps thing down here so that you can actually zoom in. I do have to make a few adjustments to the one that I may have shared with at least one of you previously, because it looks like I swapped out some block groups in the Elkins Park area. So I'll follow up with you on that, but it will be updated. And it, again, if you have questions, let me know. Typically, we use the area calculations for things like infrastructure improvements. Like one thing that we have coming up is a stormwater project along Rockwell Road, and that's in this area here by where it says Rubicam. And so you see that's red. That's something that we use the area-wide calculation for because we're doing multiple blocks of things. For a health center, for example, that is occupying this area here in Meadowbrook, that could potentially be an area-wide calculation because you're drawing people from the neighborhood to your neighborhood's health center. So it's fun stuff like that. Again, if you have questions about how to calculate your low mod percentage, if you're doing it by individual, by household, or by area, you're not really sure which one to go on, give me a call. We'll figure it out. I'm happy to talk. All right. So this one I know is going to be especially interesting for some folks on the call, this limited clientele designation. So there are a group of folks that are presumed to be low and moderate income because of their disability, age, or other condition. And those are these folks here. I'm not going to say them out loud because that's a lot of people. The severely disabled adults, you'll also see there's additional clarification around that definition below as well. The one thing that I should point out is that elderly persons are defined as 62 and above for HUD programs. Illiterate adults are completely illiterate adults. It does not include non-English speaking adults. It only includes folks who are truly illiterate, whether it is in English or another language. I know because I tried that one once. It didn't work. All right. Is everybody ready to get into the fun part of the actual application? All right. I'm just going to say it again so that no one can say I didn't say it. They're due May 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Must be submitted, okay? All right. So this is the beautiful link, portal.neighborlysoftware.com/abingtonpa/participant. That is our participant portal. I'm going to click into it, and I am going to switch screens so that we can do the fun stuff here, guys. Just give me a sec. All right, there we go. All right, so everybody is seeing the portal now, right? Okay, so I'm signed in right now. You can see this is my test portal. If you were not signed in, it would just come up with a screen asking you to sign in. It's pretty easy. You put in your name, your email, it sends you a confirmation link, you're in. So when you do that, you get to this fun screen. Oh, and I should show you really quick too. This little hamburger menu up here, this will also be able to tell you where you are. So if you need to change something in your profile, you can do that. This support link is actually really great too, because it helps you to do all this other stuff. And it also has, oh, there it is, the help button. Oh, no, it's not working today. There used to be some like help FAQ stuff in there. I'll have to figure out what's going on with that. But if you ever need to do anything, if you can't remember your password, all that fun stuff, it's all in here. Even though we talked about this being construction, capital, or public service projects. It will say that you are in a public service. Here, where did it go? Nope, that's not it. There it is, support. So you'll see here, you're in the public services program. The owner occupied rehab program is for our resident direct application program. So don't click on that one. If you get in here, you're not sure, it is the public services program that you're going to be going to. All right. You can always go back up here where the township seal is. You hit that and that'll always bring you back to, there we go, to this screen. I'm sorry, I got to move your heads around a little bit so I can see what I've got to. If you have questions, our phone number is here for our department, so we'll be able to help you out there. Neighborly assures that all of our stuff is duly encrypted, so you don't have to worry about security breaches. So the first thing here, you'll see here, start a new application. Are you not going to let me start a new application? Okay. Well, this is a fun snafu I was not anticipating.
Kim, I was playing around with this, trying to click on the blue start application.
So that is one that I've actually already started. It doesn't have the, here, we'll just start a new one. How's that sound? So I'll just sign out. You guys will see it from the very beginning. So it'll actually put you to this screen if you've never signed in before. Okay, that is what you will see when you click that with the portal.neighborly.gov thing. So you'll just click sign up now the first time you go in. I'm going to do the community, hopefully I spell it correctly. So there's a lot of pressure typing live in front of people. abingtonpa.gov, community development. Yep, okay. So it'll send you a verification code. I am, oops. Gonna go into my email there and see what I can get to pop up. It's pretty quick. I just have to sign into my email. I close all my windows when I do Zooms just in case something weird comes up. All right. So it came into my email. I've got my verification code here and I'm going to verify it. So now it's got all this fun stuff. I am just going to put in, oh, let's see. There we go. All right, so it did say, I think it said 12 characters minimum, so keep that in mind. And then we're just gonna do, all right. So pretty straightforward stuff. You're all smart people. I think you'll be able to figure it out. If not, let me know. Sometimes technology gets fun. You are more than welcome, and I do encourage you from a legal perspective officially to read all of these policies and user agreements before you click and agree to them. And there we go. So we're going to start our application in here. Like Rachel said, it's a big blue button. You just put, all right, click on it. You are more than welcome to name this however you like. I do encourage you to do your organization name. And then with, and especially if you're going to be applying for multiple programs for funding, name your program in here. So we're gonna name this training test. Why not? And then start your application. Because in the past, we've had so many folks submit applications that were not even a little bit eligible for CDBG funding. We have instituted a pre-screening eligibility test. So it is kind of a two-part thing. You will not be able to do the entire application at one time. Having said that, it's okay. It's going to be, 24 to 48 hours before someone in our office is able to review. But you'll see here, it's pretty easy stuff. This is just going to give you a little bit more information, a lot of the same information that we've already talked about here. There's nothing to complete here, but you click complete and continue. Again, really easy stuff. Just put in your information. So we talked about this a little bit before. So, are you going to be benefiting folks of low and moderate incomes? You know what that is. We talked a little bit about slum and blight. Please note that since this is a HUD program, if you do apply in this area, you will be beholden to the HUD definition of slums and blight. It's not just that looks bad. That looks like a slum. That's a blighted building. It is the HUD definition of slums and blight. And then this other one, urgent need that we talked about. So please just call us before you decide to use that, as it says here. Or if you decide that you want to engage in a planning or fair housing project, because that is considered administrative, and that is a different need. So we're just gonna, we'll do slums and blight, why not? And even though all projects, even though there's a specific national objective, I should say, in here to serve folks of low and moderate income, every project that we do still must principally serve folks of low and moderate incomes. So that's where this part comes in. So for the elimination of slums and blight, that would, in my estimation, that would very likely be an area-wide thing. If you're planning on taking a blighted property and turning it into an affordable housing development, that would be something different. So that would probably do, oh, that's our old calculation. There you go, 40.59. So I'm going to have to circle back and get our new calculation in there. Here we go. So that would be, housing assistance. All right. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Okay. So this is the first step. You complete and submit it. And that's it. Then I get an email on my side, and I have to make sure that whatever you put in there, it actually makes sense, because sometimes it doesn't. And then let's see if I sign back into my other one. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm going to sign out. And we're going to do the one that I already had teed up for you. Been doing a lot of testing on this. All right. So, that's weird. All right, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to sign out of here. I'm going to sign into my township one, and I'll be able to do it that way and show you guys what the application looks like. It'll look a little bit different for you just because the portal is different. But if I go into the administration portal, so just hang tight because you guys will not see any of this background here. So if I go to this pre-application in progress, oh, pre-application submitted, there we go. ComDev, all right. So we'll go in here, and if I go to, well, where is it? Project eligibility. And I say, here we go. Sorry, guys. So I'm just going to do this real quick here so that we can get through with our training. Okay. All right, complete and continue. Confirm. So you'll see, and it'll look similar. It's all the same stuff. It's got a slightly different format, but it's really straightforward stuff. What's your organization name? Just a one-line description. So I'm going to say we're CD Training. That's our organization name, and our project is going to be Main Street affordable housing. We don't have a Main Street in Abington, so I'm not not putting anything out there that putting preference to here. So, all right, so we're going to put it at 123 Main Street. That's our project site. So this is important. This first one is going to be your project site. So I know for a lot of folks on here, your headquarters are going to be different than where you might actually be doing the work. And that is going to be in Abington. And we are, let's just say, there we go. Your federal ID number. So that's your tax number. That's the easy way to put it. I get that question a lot. Well, what is my federal ID number? It's your tax number. I don't actually know what ours is, but I'm just gonna put in something. Oh, it's getting mad at me. There we go. All right, so that's our federal tax ID number for our imaginary organization. And then you come down here. So I should say all of this information is required. You cannot put forth an application if we do not have a federal tax ID number, if we do not have your organization name, if we do not have your CEO's name or your ED's name. Please make sure that you put it in there. Again, A8, that's going to be the address for the organization. That is different from it may be different from your project site. It may not. So we're going to put this at 1176 Old York Road. We'll just put it here at the township. And then 1901, there we go. If for some reason you have dual locations, which I also know that some of you do have dual headquarters, feel free to put both of them in. We do not need both of them. Please, please, please put in a phone number, because if I have questions on your application, I'm going to want to call you. And you're going to want me to be able to call you so that we can get that question answered. Because if I can't get my question answered, I cannot approve an application for funding. And then community development at, there we go, abington.pa.gov. Okay. This is important. Is the project contact different from the information provided in the questions above? So I know for a lot of you, you're not necessarily the chief administrative officer for your organization. You may be a grant writer, you might be a program director, you might be the chief officer, I don't know. But make sure that if you are not the person who is the head of the board, the head of your organization staff, just please make sure you click yes so that we can make sure that all that fun stuff is in there. I'm just going to click no so that we can go through all of this because it's really just the same stuff. Again, your federal ID number is going to be the same. Very few people still have DUNS numbers, if anybody, because they're all extinct. But just make sure that you get your information in there. But we're going to click no, complete and continue. If you decide after you hit complete and continue that you actually, oh, you know what, I think I filled that out wrong, you can click back over on this side into any of this stuff. You won't see this eligibility determination and project eligibility since that's just on my side, but you can click into A, B, C, D, and E, all of that stuff interchangeably if you want to click between the different stuff. So no worries. But please make sure if you do make the changes that you hit complete and continue. All right, so project beneficiaries. This is part that tends to trip people up, especially if you're trying to do an area-wide thing. If you're working with census blocks, if you're unsure about how to calculate folks, give me a call. I think that's probably the big thing. After the due date. If you have a question, give me a call. I will, if I can actually answer your question, I will refer you to information that I think will be able to help answer your question. There is a lot of information and particularity around this program. So I don't know everything, but I do know where to find that information and where to find your answers. So please ask. Oh, look, I've found another. We spelled applicable wrong. Please don't judge me. I'm going to get that typo fixed. All right, so we'll just put your numbers in here. If this is a community, or excuse me, an economic development project, you will need to demonstrate that jobs have been created. If you need information on how to calculate that, again, just reach out. It is unlikely with these other ones, but there might be, if it's a very long construction project, you might be able to say that, you know, an additional construction worker job was created. If it's a public service project and you're using this money to hire a new counselor, you can also note that in here. All right. So again, those definitions all around low income, please refer back to that matrix that we went over before. If you know that it is going to be extremely low income, please just click that one. You don't need to click these other two. If you just know that you're going to be working with anyone below 80% or less, again, you can just click that one. It doesn't need to be all of them. If you want to click all of them, you also can. I'm not going to be mad at you. But just know, however you feel is the best way that represents who you're serving, please do that. If this project is in a neighborhood that is has a higher population of folks of color, if it is with an organization that specifically works with a population, this is also this stuff. Obviously, a senior center is going to serve senior citizens, right? Veterans or another underserved constituency. And a lot of those definitions were on that LMC page, that limited clientele page that we did. If it is not specific to these folks, please do not click them. And I say that because it doesn't boost your application to have inaccurate information. While folks of color, folks with disabilities, senior citizens, and veterans, we know are more likely to be of a low income. If you are not specifically serving them with your program, please do not include them. It's just, it's just not a good idea. That's how I'll put it. Does your project affirmatively further fair housing choice? This is specifically for housing stuff. If you're doing housing education, if you are investing in affordable housing, if you are providing down payment assistance, rental assistance, those would be things that would further fair housing choice. And then you just have to, you know, explain to us, you know, we're doing an education project with our residents to help them identify fair housing violations. If it is a food pantry project, that does not have a direct correlation to furthering fair housing choice. So just click no. And if you're not sure, call me. We'll talk about it and I'll let you know if I think that it does. All right, so again, just complete and continue. If you just hit save, it's not a bad idea, right? You can hit save if you're not done with the page. You won't actually be, I don't think you'll be allowed to hit complete and continue. I might be in this screen because I'm on the administrative side, but if you don't complete a screen, I don't think that you can hit complete and continue because you haven't completed all of the required fields. So feel free to hit save. You can always return back to it later. So project budget, this is, pretty straightforward here. How much are you requesting? Again, if it's for a public service specifically, please do not request more than $84,000 because that is absolutely the top amount that I'm able to even invest in all of projects together. That does not mean that that is each individual project. That is public service projects altogether. So please remember that. I'm just going to say $100. I hope that folks are looking at projects with a larger investment amount to have a larger impact. But for the purpose of this training, we're just going to go with $100. This project has not received past funds through CDBG. But if we said yes, we just want to know how much. It just helps us when we're putting the information out to folks outside of our office, because I have a lot of this information in my head. But if I'm talking to the manager or commissioner about this stuff, it's just a lot easier for them to know, like, oh, we have invested in this project before, right? Okay. So please just make sure that you do that. If you are layering different funding sources, a lot of times, folks will have money from the county. They might have gotten a state grant, and they also might be using their own operating funds to help offset the cost of a program. Please just make sure that you put it in there. It does not weaken your application by showing us that you have other funding sources. Some people have told me in the past they thought that it did. So I'm here to tell you it does not. It just helps us to gauge how stable potentially your program is, and how what the long-term viability of our investment would be in your program. So let me just put some numbers in here real quick. I'm going to say $0 federal dollars, and I'm going to say we're investing $15 of our own money into this worthwhile project. The budget narrative. This is not different than what was on previous applications. So those of you who have applied in the past, this is not anything new to you. This just helps to explain a little bit more about what you're doing. So are you using it for staff costs? Are you using it for program supplies? Are you using it for electricity? All of that stuff, please put it in here. It's really helpful to us to be able to evaluate projects. So please make sure that it is in here. If, again, you have any questions, let me know. It can be just bullet points similar to what is here. It's not a big deal. And please just double check your math to make sure that, in my case, it would have to add up to $115, right? So I'm going to do $115 for donuts. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I hope you guys realize that. But yeah, and the other thing too that I would like to point out is that because in here, I'm sorry I'm doing all of this crazy scrolling. Please identify whether or not things are going to be paid for out of the proposed CDBG grant, or whatever your other funding source is. So I'm going to do $100 for donuts, and that's going to be CDBG funded, right? And then, everybody needs, I guess, a little bit of coffee. So that's going to be organization operating funds. There we go. I spelled that wrong. There we go. All right. So that's just a nice little thing. Obviously, you guys are going to have a little bit more stuff in here, but there's that. There is also an opportunity you'll see as we get into required documents to be able to upload, like if you have a spreadsheet budget in there. So it's a little bit cleaner format for you. So again, complete and continue. If you don't see this confirm screen, it probably didn't go through. So just make sure that you get that little confirm button. All right, project narrative, again, we kind of spell it out for you. So please make sure you hit all these bullet points in there. You know, with donuts and coffee, you know, we want to feed people breakfast. The benefit to low and income residents, seniors need donuts too. And I know none of this makes sense and it does not even probably match the original title, so please bear with me. A description of the project service area. So again, if you're doing a wide area, let's just talk about the neighborhood a little bit. If you're doing something specific to your site, that's okay. We can just talk about your site and what your site is. And then just a little bit about the actual activity that you're going to be undertaking. So oh, Marion, I haven't picked on you yet. So if we're providing rental support, you know, we're going to be doing screenings to ensure that folks are income eligible. We're going to be paying rent checks directly to landlords, providing copies for resident records, following up to ensure you know, that residents are sticking to budgets, like however that's going to go. And then obviously your time frame will not start until October 1, 2025, right? And then whenever you think you're going to wrap up, if obviously a construction project, you know, could be anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, sometimes even longer if it is I don't know, an architectural feat. I don't think we're in the business of funding that, but who knows? But a lot of times for a public service program, folks ask for funding for the 1 year. And that is mostly what I would recommend. If you do want to do 2 years, that is certainly something that you can apply for. But just let us know, you know, about when you think you'll be starting and about when you'll be wrapping up your program based on the funding request that you've put in there. And then what your anticipated outcomes are. So again, to pick on Marion a little bit, if we're doing a rental support thing, you know, obviously you want to save people from eviction and be able to provide them a framework to escape potential future financial incident. That would be your intended outcome. With your intended outcome, I didn't put it in here, but I would recommend putting in the number of folks that you think will be served by the project. So if you think it will be 5, if you think it will be 50, 500, let me know. If you're doing an area-wide project, again, let me know, because that will be based on census block population. And we'll talk about that a little bit in our conversation. Procurement. So this is how you get the things that you'll be using to do your activity or program. Because you are applying for federal funds, if you are successful in getting those federal funds, all federal procurement policies must be followed for the program that you are funding with those federal funds. So it's important. If it is a construction project, let us know if you're going to be needing engineering or professional services, because that has a set of policies around it so that we can anticipate how to support you. Oh, and if you don't think you're going to be needing any other sort of professional services, engineering is the big one that we see because of construction projects. just click that one. For certainly a mental health support project, you're not going to be asking an engineer to come in, very unlikely. So that would be just that one there. So this has here, list the percentage of low and moderate income residents in this block group. You don't need to know that. That is on the map that we will be sharing with you. Unless you are directly, if it's going to be an area-wide benefit, we'll need to know this. And that is on that map. Again, if you don't know it, I can always refer back to the map and help you figure that out. If this is an individual qualification, just leave it at 0, because that doesn't matter what the block group percentage is for that particular project. Again, if you're not sure how to fill this out, call me. For D4, if you don't know what the census tract and block group are, give me a call. We'll put it in there for you. And is this a construction project? If you click yes, a whole lot of extra questions pop up. Is anybody here planning on doing another construction project? Okay. I'm not seeing any hands go up. So if you are, just make sure that you do all of this. We do require some photos. You can actually use our census block group map and mark that up. But we just need to know where that stuff is. So we'll just do no for that one. No. Oh, let me just click on yes and just go through this real quick so that if folks looking at the recording are curious. We do have to adhere to federal labor wage rate standards, Davis-Bacon, and PA prevailing wage. Typically here in our area, PA prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon rates are about the same. But sometimes they do differ a little bit. In other parts of the country, the federal wage rates are way higher than the state prevailing wage. But so we'll talk about that if you do have a construction project, how to do all that. But that is something to keep in mind. All construction projects will have to undergo some sort of environmental review. Public services are exempt, so we don't have to go through all of this. But this just helps us evaluate from a township perspective what we will have to do to support a subrecipient wanting to engage in these projects. So that's why this stuff is here. And some subrecipients, potential subrecipients, will come to us with some permits already pulled. So it's just helpful to us to know how far someone has gone in here. So that's why that's there. But we'll just go back to no. Again, complete and continue. Oh, it's mad at me. See, I didn't put it in. So we'll just do 1% to make it happy. I don't know. And we'll just do O2. I know that's a block group in the township. I don't know where it is, but I will help you guys find it if you need that help. So complete and continue. But that's actually a really good opportunity, a good point. So you didn't see that confirm thing come up last time when I had unfilled in fields, right? And it came up and it showed the empty fields as red. So that's wonderful. I love it when I inadvertently do something good to demonstrate to you folks. So we're getting towards the end, which is pretty fun, guys. It's actually not that long. Things that we definitely need. We need your board of directors list, right? So I don't have that here, but I'm gonna put my kids' chore chart in there so that we just have something to upload in there. And we also need a copy of your IRS determination letter. If you're having problems locating it, I know that some organizations we've worked with in the past, we seem to have a lot of flooding and fire events in the 70s here. So a lot of organizations that we've worked with, they've lost them. We can work with the IRS to get that letter for you. If you're coming up on the deadline, because it does take a little bit longer to get the IRS determination letter, we will accept the confirmation that you put in the request for it, because we'll have your tax ID number, and we'll also have documentation that you've requested the official letter. So that works too. If for some reason you're having some problems, just let me know. Here, we'll put a map in there for that second one, for that one. But again, if you have questions, if you're having problems, call me. There are very few problems that we can't work around if the project is truly eligible for funding. So, complete and continue. There we go. This is your last page. This is your certifications page. Do not hit complete and submit until you are absolutely sure that you want to complete and submit. I say this because I will have to get a request from you to go in and reopen an application if you need to go in and change something after you hit complete and submit on this screen. You will have to check all of these check boxes. If you don't, it will tell you that you can't do it. So please just make sure that you do that. Let's see. Oh, this is fun too. So the other thing we talked about a little bit, although with some of the executive orders that have come out, it's not quite as applicable. We have in the past produced an analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. At this point, it would really only apply to folks doing fair housing work. Although, again, because of the executive orders that have been issued, these documents are no longer required of us, but we are still required to further fair housing. So it's a good opportunity for you guys who are doing fair housing activities to take a look at this document. It does link out to a place on the township webpage where we host it. Feel free to look at it. But yeah, so then we'll go down to the bottom. Testy McTester, I think, was the name of our chief official that I put in here before. Not that it matters. And then I'm going to be the chief grant officer because I think that's a fun title. And when you come in here, you can't upload like a real signature, but we'll just have Testy McTester put in their electronic signature here, affirm that they sign, right? And complete and submit. Before I hit complete and submit, does anybody want me to go back into any of the other sections?
Kim, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Back in the application where it said, has this project received funding before?
Mm-hmm.
Is it only if it's the same project, or does it go with the organization itself?
It is not the organization. It would be the project. So if you are expanding upon a program or project that has previously received funding, then that would be yes. If you are endeavoring upon a completely new project, then the answer would be no.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So back to submit. Oh, look at that. I forgot to check one of the boxes. All of this stuff in here, I should say, and it says it up here, look, once an application is submitted, it can only be reopened by an administrator. That's me. I'm the administrator. So if for some reason you do realize after the fact that you didn't put something in the way you want to, let me know. That's not a problem. But all of this stuff in here. So, this is kind of like the fun stuff. If you do want to Google what 24 CFR Part 570 is, that's the federal legislation that created the CDBG program, so you can take a look there. All of this stuff is here. You can always Google all of it. But if you do have any questions about what is contained in here, let me know. So this one here is probably important if anyone's doing construction projects. Just want to make sure that we're not displacing folks or organizations. And if we are, that we have a plan. So if you are engaging in a project that may displace folks, reach out to me so that we can have a conversation about that. Yeah, and this last one is also a big one. That you understand by submitting the application that you agree to reimburse the township for any funds that you spend that are found to be ineligible under CDBG program guidelines. So I do my best as a program administrator to make sure that our subrecipients are remaining compliant. We have helped folks who were going in an incompliant direction to get back on track. But there have been instances, thankfully so far, not under my watch, that have been flagged as being incompliant. But those programs did have to pay the township back because the township had to pay HUD back. So this does happen. It's very infrequent here in Abington, thankfully. But just know that if your organization does not spend the money appropriately, you will have to pay us back. So that's it. So one more time before I hit complete and submit, are there any questions? Cool. All right, so I'm just going to complete and submit our test. You will get, again, that step completed confirmation. Because I'm in the administrative side, and again, I apologize. I had this all teed up to do it from your perspective, and I messed something up. So you will get a screen that says that it was submitted. Let me see if I can figure out how to. So when you come back to at the end, you will see if you don't finish it all in one fell swoop, you will come back here and it will say continue application instead of start application. After you submit it, it will say view application. Oh, and look at this. The expiration date is wrong on here. This has been wonderful. I found a lot of things that we haven't been able to troubleshoot yet. The date is May 23rd, 3 p.m. That will be updated. So please don't pay attention to that there. But you'll be able to see all this stuff here. You'll be able to view it afterward. You are also able to print it. So I got to move your heads real quick. Where it usually says on your side, you will see a button that will say like print. Oh, here it is. There's a little printer. And that way you can print in there. You can print all of this stuff. You can print it in Word. You can print it in PDF. I recommend printing it in PDF because it will be formatted properly. You can show the conditional fields, which I do recommend. This is an administrative function, so you will not see that one. But all of that fun stuff will come up for you so that you can print it and it'll render for you so that you can save the file electronically or you can print it physically or both, whatever suits your fancy. All right. So since we're done here, I'm gonna swing back to our PowerPoint and wrap it up. Just gotta find it again. Here we go. Screen 2, share. There we go. Awesome. Oh, it apparently went back to the beginnings. Give me a sec. We'll just get through everything. All right. So again, that's the application link. It will be there for you. Again, the schedule. And I think that's it. There we go. All right. Any final questions before I let everybody go. Yeah, Karen, go ahead. Or Michelle, I'm sorry. Oh, you're muted. Let me,
Thank you. Yeah, it's Karen.
yeah.
You're right. Thank you.
Oh,
A couple questions. First of all, I really like the preliminary questionnaire that tells you whether or not you're eligible, your activity is eligible. So after you submit that preliminary questionnaire, you're saying that a couple of days later, we'll get an email saying whether or not we should continue with the project.
yes.
Okay.
I'm staying 24 to 48 hours to give myself some wiggle room. I'm hoping to turn it around faster. It's what we'll be focusing on certainly the next few weeks, is getting people onboarded in their stuff. Um, we've already had a few preliminary questionnaires come through, and we've turned them around pretty quickly. So today is definitely an exception, and yesterday too, just because of my meeting schedule. But we're turning them around as quickly as we can because I want to make sure that everyone has as much time with the application as possible.
Great. Second question. I know the public services limit you said was $84,000 for everyone who's applying total
Yes,
for that. Is there
yes.
a recommended amount of money that you're thinking that people in public services should apply for as we look to kind of target our proposals?
I'm going to give you what is probably the most frustrating answer for a grant manager is
Yeah,
that you should apply for the amount of money that you think is appropriate for your program.
that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
But um, yes, that's right. So that's not a surprise, but thank you.
Yeah.
Um, the other question is, so for the public services, and in CDBG is so much has been so much about construction and physical stuff. Do you recommend that people apply for like I'm going to call them hard costs? Like if you're doing something and you need like internet services or you need more computers, is that the kind of stuff CDBG likes to pay for as opposed to the staffing component that goes with that?
So the ultimate activity is what is the consideration. So if you are looking to pay for overhead costs, ostensibly, which would be what we would consider internet or electricity, to fund a program. If it is a public services program, then it still falls under public service, and there's no consideration beyond that. It's really is this a is this an activity or is this construction is really the two buckets that they look at.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. The other things actually I did not mention, which I was remiss in not mentioning previously. So I'm glad that you've all hung in here till the end. Is that we do look at whether or not a program supports the objectives and goals listed in the township's various plans. So we do have a draft comprehensive plan that's available on the township website. There is a strategic plan available on the website. There is, and I think some of our departments also have their own plans. You'll see also the consolidated plan that our department puts out, that we talked a little bit about. So it is good. It would definitely make an application stronger to reference whether or not your activity or program supports the goals and stated objectives in those plans. If you have any issues finding them, let me know. But you can always go to abingtonpa.gov, and there's a search bar in the upper right-hand corner that you can just plug in that information. You can even just put in strategic plan, probably, and all of those plans would come up. Cool. If you have any questions, I know I've said this 12 times, but I'm going to say it again. Please reach out. You'll see our full department contact information below. I do have the benefit of support from Melissa Schofield. She is also here answering phones and emails. that if you do have questions, she will likely be able to answer a lot of them. If she can't, she'll, send it over to me so that I can answer it. We will be looking at emails, telephone calls, and as always, a lot of this information is on the website for you to be able to refer back to. So I hope that I see lots of applications. I know that we have in the past enjoyed a highly competitive process. So I look forward to seeing everyone's ideas. And I look forward to seeing complete applications submitted before 3 p.m. on May 23rd. So thank you guys all so much for your time and attention. And thank you for, we got a question. Yeah. Okay. I saw a hand go up. But thank you for waving.
Yeah.
But thank you all for your time and attention and for your support of our community and our residents. We really, we appreciate the partnership. So thank you.